distinctive headgear that have probably been waiting for Senator Menjivar. So the lineup is Senator Menjivar, then Senator Skinner, then Senator Ashby. Senator Menjivar, item number 6, SB 1124.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members, good afternoon. This is like the broken one. Okay. So imagine you spend a minimum of 4 years in the military, where you may break a bone, you may have behavioral needs that need to be met, your back pain is constant and untreated. Because you're told constantly to just take ibuprofen and change your socks and keep on trucking. Now imagine you leave the military and those symptoms still persist, and you're now seeking to get treatment or disability for what some of the things that happened to you in the military. It is difficult to provide proof of that because, well, for the past 4 years in the military, you were told that you're okay, you're fine, push forward. Attempting to file for a VA disability rating can be daunting and time-consuming. It's hard sometimes to prove what happened to you did happen to you there. And it can be a very vulnerable situation when your pain and symptoms are not validated by the VA through their denial of your claims. Finally, imagine feeling everything I just described and connecting with a company that rolls out the red carpet for you and promises you a high rate, but instead steals your money without any change to your rating, charges you an exorbitant amount, or uses your personal information to access private information. This is what is happening to a lot of veterans who are going to unaccredited agents to process their veteran benefits. Now, I don't want to group every single agent or unaccredited agent in the same umbrella because I myself utilized an unaccredited agent to help with my VA disability, and I did have a positive experience. But my story is not the same as other veterans who did not have positive experiences and had a complete opposite experience through fraud and so forth. Because when the Federal Trade Commission testified last year in Congress that they received a 50% increase in complaints amounting to more than 150,000 complaints of fraud and illegal businesses practices in 2022, it resulted in more than $414 million in damages. We know we have an issue. Stories like Grant Gallagher, an Air Force veteran who signed a contract with a claims consulting firm that offered him very little help in communication, was charged $7,500 once his claim was approved. After he did majority of the work on his own, and his rating was increased, the company came back and said, we're going to charge you, even though he did the work. Or Christian Hamill, who turned to an unaccredited agent for help after leaving the Marine Corps, only for them to abandon him. He eventually sought the help by a county veteran service officer to get assistance for his claim for free. This is why California needs regulatory oversight of the system. We need to ensure that veterans' disability claims are handled in a manner that is most beneficial to them and protects them from wrongdoing. Now, perhaps we don't all agree with the way the VA handles ratings, their denial percentage, and so forth. But we're working with what is federal law right now. Current federal law requires accreditation of agents who want to help veterans obtain their veteran benefits. So SB 1124 is only seeking to match the federal law. The federal law is a key principle this bill is seeking to uphold in California. The lack of institutional oversight over these unaccredited actors is the crux of the problem that I'm seeking to address. Specifically, SB 1124 would do a couple of things. It will prohibit any person from soliciting, charging, contracting for, or receiving any fee or compensation with respect to the preparation, presentation, or prosecution of any claim under the VA for VA benefits unless they are accredited. There is currently an accreditation process that exists right now, and anybody who wishes to work on this can apply for the accreditation. It will strengthen protections to prevent unauthorized access to veterans' personal information through secure VA websites like eBenefits or VA.gov. websites that you need your own personal information to access. And it will reinforce existing fee caps on services by clarifying that a fee charged with respect to a veteran benefits is unreasonable if it exceeds the amount that a VA accredited attorney or claims agent could charge for these same services. It's about oversight and making sure that those who participate in the industry are in adherence to what's already established in federal law. Mr. Chair, I'd like to now turn over to my witnesses who will further speak on this matter. We have Anthony Liu, Deputy Attorney General. We have VFW State Quartermaster Roger Meyer. And we have Scott Howell from King County Veteran Services Office and Legislative Chair of the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers.
All right, thank you. Before we begin, at the request of the author and the opponents, that we're going to deviate slightly from our normal procedure. There will be 4 minutes for the support side and 4 minutes for the opposition side. I'm told there are 3 witnesses, so those 4 minutes may be divided among those 3 witnesses, but we're going to limit it to 4 minutes for each side. So, go ahead. Those in support, please approach the microphone.
Hi, good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Anthony Liu. I'm a Deputy AG in the Office of Leg Affairs. AG Bonta is the proud co-sponsor of this legislation. We thank Senator Menjivar for her leadership in authoring this bill and our co-sponsors, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, for their partnership. You know, this bill stems from discussions between the Attorney General and the military and veterans community about the importance of ensuring that those who provide assistance to veterans in filing a claim for VA benefits are accredited by the VA. The committee analysis on pages 4 and 5 does an excellent job of describing the current system of VA accreditation, the public policy, purpose of accreditation, and highlighting the federal law that generally requires someone to be VA accredited in order to assist a veteran with initiating a claim for VA benefits. As the author highlighted, this federal law requiring accreditation is the underpinning of SB 1124. The key principle that the AG, the VFW, and the many military and veteran groups that support this bill seek to uphold in California law. Simply, if someone wants to charge veterans for help with their benefits claims, they need to follow the rules and become VA accredited. The chair of the Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee of the U.S. House Committee on Veteran Affairs, Representative Chris Pappas, explained it this way in a recent congressional hearing, quote, "Some veterans may be willing to pay a fee if the services they receive are worthwhile and a company's business practices are above board. But without adequate oversight through the accreditation process, we cannot be assured that this is the case." In short, because unaccredited claims representatives are not subject to the VA's rules and oversights, we feel they pose an unacceptable risk, consumer risk to vets. In conclusion, SB 1124 stands for the principle that any business operating in the arena of providing assistance to veterans and filing a claim for VA benefits should have to play by the same set of rules. They should be required to adhere to the professional and ethical standards set by the VA, and they should be accountable to, not exist outside of, the protections provided by VA accreditation and oversight, including fee caps. That being said, the AG's office is very committed, and we're working with the author to continuing discussions with opponents as the bill moves forward. And should the bill pass today, it's referred to the Senate Military and Vets Committee, and we really welcome the opportunity to further engage on these issues there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu.
Good afternoon, Chairman, committee members. My name's Roger Meyer, and I'm here representing the tens of thousands of members of the VFW in California. Unaccredited claims consultants continue to operate outside the law because they do not want to become accredited. To be clear, there is nothing stopping them from having their employees accredited today. These companies make excuses that it's too hard to get every individual accredited. Don't believe that. Attorneys are admitted to the bar, not law firms. Doctors have medical licenses, not the hospital. The VFW is not accredited, but our service officers are. These unaccredited claims companies should be held to the same standard and not allowed a free pass simply because they believe it's too hard or it does not fit their business model. It should not matter whether their clients willingly choose to use these services. It should not matter that some of their clients are satisfied with the results of the unaccredited companies. We do not legislate based on Yelp reviews. Companies operating outside the law must be reined in. It should be our responsibility to require anyone who handles a veteran's claim.
All righty. Thank you. If you could wrap it up.
So we represent 70,000 veterans in the state of California, and we have brought in $370 million in compensation since October 1st, all for free.
I see. All right. Thank you. You urge and I vote. All right. Let's now turn to the opposition. Excuse me. Strike that. I apologize. No. If you're in support, please approach the microphone and give us your name, your affiliation, and your position.
Savina Tacker with the Consumer Attorneys of California in support.
Good afternoon. Don Harper with American Legion. We have 100,000 members in California. We recommend I vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mr. Chair, thank you for your service. Scott Hallwell, California Association of County Veteran Service Officers, 30-year Navy veteran. We're in strong support of SB 1124.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, Randy Perry with Aaron Reed Associates on behalf of the San Diego Military Advisors and the CalVet Foundation.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Denisha Boatner on behalf of the California State Association of Counties in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danita Stromgren, volunteer with California AARP, representing 3.2 million members in California in support of 1124.
Thank you.
Jessica Stender on behalf of Equal Rights Advocates in support.
Thank you.
Charles Wright on behalf of the California Association of Veteran Service Agencies in support.
Thank you.
Chris Archuleta with Military Order of Purple Heart in strong support.
Thank you.
Steve Reeves, Veterans of Foreign Wars in strong support.
Thank you.
Kenneth Hawthorne, Veteran Service for Foreign Wars in strong support.
Thank you.
Andrew Miller, Veteran of Foreign Wars in strong support.
Thank you.
Marcus Cedra on behalf of the County of Los Angeles in support. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Members, Dylan Elliott on behalf of the counties of Kern and Nevada in support. Thank you.
Chair members, my name is Seth Reeb with Reeb Government Relations, representing about 500,000 veterans, representing American Legion, AMVETS Department of California, Military Officers Association of America, and the Vietnam Veterans of America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck Jameson, Scottish American Military Society, and we support this.
Thank you.
Mark Orlando, Sonoma County Veteran Service Office, in support.
Thank you.
Steve Spriggs, AUSA, Northern California, we support.
Thank you.
David Kuda with the VFW of California in strong support.
Thank you.
David West, President of the California Association of County Veteran Services Officers, and we support this bill.
Thank you.
Mac Adams, retired Command Sergeant Major, 41 years, 8 months, 11 days, representing Military Family Support for El Dorado County, strong support.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. I spent 33 years in the military, 33 of them afraid of sergeants major. So, right.
For real.
My name is Alfred Sims, Director of Veteran Services for Solano County, representing 33,000 veterans in Solano County in strong support.
Thank you. All right, others in support. Seeing no one approaching the microphone, no one else approaching the microphone. Now let's turn to the opposition. Same deal with the opposition, 4 minutes in total.
Before I begin, we'll have two members today doing 2 minutes each.
All righty.
Chairman Ungberg, committee members, thank you for the opportunity to speak today in opposition of SB 1124. My name is Lieutenant Colonel retired Bill Taylor, and I'm the founder of Veterans Guardian VA Claim Consulting. We are veteran-owned with over 200 employees, all of which are veterans, spouses of veterans, or spouses of active duty. We are a transparent and ethical company helping ensure veterans receive the benefits they are entitled to based on their honorable service to our nation. I'd like to address two areas that were spoken about today that we believe are not accurate. The first is, contrary to previous testimony, we are not operating illegally and we are in compliance with federal law as it is currently written, not as the people who oppose our industry wish that it was written. We are not acting as an agent or attorney. We never represent, we never present, and we never prosecute a claim. We merely act as consultants to help the veterans navigate the process on their own behalf. And under current law, if you don't take that step into agency, you are not in violation of federal law. The federal law doesn't say you can't do this unless you're accredited. The second is that we are accused of not wanting to become accredited. I have been fighting for 4 years at the national level to try and become accredited and change the accreditation rules that create a path for companies like ours to become accredited and allow us to operate and assist veterans with initial claims. In the absence of that, we share the concerns of about predatory actors and the practices, but have been identified by many of the stakeholders here. However, we believe this is the wrong approach to addressing these concerns. We believe that a better approach is the legislation that we have proposed that identifies all the negative practices that we do not like, legislate against them, but allow veterans to make the choice on how they want to pursue their claim. Given the environment that we're working in right now, we should be striving to give veterans a greater number of choices, not reducing those choices. We believe that we can address the predatory concerns while still maintaining a veteran's right to choose. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Perfect. Dear members of the committee, my name is Donato Clay, and I'm the COO of Veteran Benefits Guide, or VBG, which was founded in San Diego. I'm also a California National Guard veteran. I'm here today to express my opposition to SB 1124 unless amended. We support the bill if amended because we agree that there should be protections for veterans in attaining their VA disability, but those protections shouldn't force our veterans to rely on a legacy system that the VA admits is prejudicial and inequitable. There is an active lawsuit against the VA that calls out the racial and ethnic disparities in VA disability claims based on FOIA data from 2001 to 2020. The VA's own data shows that black veterans like me are 22% more likely to have our claims denied than our white counterparts, and that is by using the legacy systems. Removing access to good actors with high operating standards and innovative and efficient solutions creates a disservice to California's veterans by forcing them to accept a broken system that doesn't look out for everyone equally. The status quo being argued for by the legacy systems would force many veterans to continue to be denied, to receive lower disability ratings than they deserve, or to simply wait years by suffering through lengthy appeals. Justice delayed is justice denied, and VBG helps veterans navigate a confusing bureaucracy to get what they are owed by doing more than the free services. To date, VBG has successfully guided over 11,000 California veterans through the claims process, and over 70% of our clients have used the free services before coming to us. These veterans have received an average increase in lifetime monthly benefits of $1,300. For every veteran that uses VBG, no less than 6 individual departments assist in determining what claims or increase they may be entitled to, and most importantly, network support coordination of trained independent provider network to complete disability exams. We heavily invest in our data analytics and cybersecurity to remain up to date with VA regulations and practices, and focus on a strategy of innovation and continuous improvement. Representation also matters in this space. A recent Yale University...
Thank you. If you could wrap it up, please.
Yes, sir. So private companies in this space can't go through the VA's accreditation process and charge for services, which is why we're currently seeking accreditation reform in Congress.
All righty. Thank you.
So ultimately, we request that we support the bill if amended.
Thank you. All right. Others in opposition, please approach the microphone. Seeing no one else approaches the microphone, let's now turn it to the committee. Questions by committee members? Yes, Senator Rasso.
Thank you. If I can, Mr. Chair, I would ask a question of the first supporting witness.
Sure.
I think it's Mr. Meyer.
Mr. Liu, I think, was the first witness in support.
No, Mr. Meyer, the BFW.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I was wondering if you could explain about how, besides helping a veteran initiate a claim, how does an accredited representative assist veterans with other issues? What kind of other issues how is that assistance?
So when a veteran comes into one of our service offices, they meet with an accredited service officer to initiate their claim. During that time, we take other things into consideration, also concerning their mental health, their current home or homeless status, any medical conditions that they need. We're able to do that because we actually meet one-on-one with the veteran. And so we provide, if you want to call it, a whole health for that veteran. Having somebody submit information or talk to them over the phone, you're not able to do that type of triage of that veteran to understand what they may need besides just a VA claim.
Other questions, comments? I have some. Yes, Senator Caballero.
Well, I have a question, and I guess the question should be put to the AG's office or to the author of the bill, which is, you've heard some of the concerns raised by the opposition, and I'm wondering if there is an interest to sit down and have a conversation about how to make sure that, well, to see whether the bill needs to be amended. I guess the first question is, do you think the bill needs to be amended? I am focusing on the racial disparities. There are government processes that don't work very well. And having said that, know that I ran the immigration bill to get rid of immigration consultants in much the same situation, because there are predatory people who take advantage of immigrants, take lots of money, and give legal advice when they're not lawyers. And so, so I'm really sensitive to trying to clean up a system that's not working very well. But I am also concerned about the racial disparities and the potential for people who have spent, who made some sacrifices to be able to defend our country, and who are entitled to benefits and the ability to be able to get those benefits.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Senator. And I think that's a really important question, because I'm concerned about that. But whether you're accredited or unaccredited, the submissions of the applications go through the same queue. So the problem that we're seeing, and they don't work, neither accredited or unaccredited work for the VA as a whole, or the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So the problem we're seeing is at the back end on the VA side. The ones who then look at every single thing coming in through the same queue and then deciding who gets 10% versus the 80%. So it'd be difficult to address that in this end, because no one is getting turned away from an accredited agent or an unaccredited agent who is seeking help to turn in an application. And Mr. Andrew, if there's anything else you'd like to add to that, Mr. Chair, if that's okay. If
it's fine.
Not, okay.
Sure. Mr. Liu?
Sure, yes. So there's 2 points here, I think. One is we will follow our author, of course. And we at the AG's office are, of course, very open to continuing to work with the opposition to see if there's a creative solution about amendments that can be taken that accomplish some of these goals, but are also acceptable to our military and vets groups. And we are a little bit boxed in, obviously, by the federal law, so this is not just dropping it into a blank slate. I would say the racial disparities issue, I do want to highlight, again, what the author has just pointed out, which is people talk about the system, the VA system is broken and there's inequalities in the system. But, and maybe Roger or other folks can speak to this, but the system does not, there's a difference between the VSOs and the county VSOs and the other fine people in California who work to help veterans, and the Department of U.S. Veterans Affairs, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, where there may or may not be inequality, institutional inequality sort of baked into, 100 years of working. I think it's important to keep that distinction. The veterans in California have a lot of options, so they can go to a county VSO, they can go to a nonprofit VSO, they can hire somebody else. It doesn't mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that even if there is a history of racial disparities here. Even if that's true, I don't think that the solution is that unaccredited for-profit companies. The solution to that is that they come in and start, charging people and hiring people to do that kind of work. Let's use like a judiciary kind of example. I think we would all agree that the justice system over time has some, suffers from some racial inequality, and it's not perfect, and we should really seek to change that. But at the same time, I don't think the solution to that is to allow people who are not regulated by the state bar to come in and start working as, a defense counsel or something like that. That's not apples and oranges there.
All right, thank you. Senator Caballero?
Well, the bottom line is my immigration bill argued just exactly that, which is to allow people that are unlicensed to come in and give legal advice on complicated immigration issues. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. But I guess what I'm concerned about is that there are two interpretations of the law. And on the one hand, the opposition says, look, we don't fall under the federal regulations that require us to be accredited. And so that what you're doing is driving them out of business, even though it doesn't violate federal law. In other words, the argument is, well, you should be accredited because federal law requires it. But if the interpretation is correct that they don't need to be accredited, then the question becomes, is there another way to regulate other than to run them out of business, which is to say you can't do more than you can't charge more than this amount, or you can't do this, and regulate it somehow. So I'm struggling with it because I am sensitive to the fact that that people of color join the military in large numbers, and it's become, frankly, these are the people that, and I know you agree with this, that are the more committed to defending our country, and so they ought to receive the benefits that they're entitled to. And so however the racial disparity happens, I don't want to see it happen.
I mean, you hit some really good points, Senator, and I mean, I agree with a lot of what you've mentioned. And to what Andrew mentioned, just a little boxed in. Unfortunately, the interpretation of the law, both on the Congress level, on the national level, on the state level, the AG's level, has the same interpretation of the law that is not what the lieutenant colonel has. He mentioned his interpretation. It's not what the majority in our country has interpreted the law. Under the law right now, they are looking at him as an uncredited agent going against federal law. So with this bill, it was very difficult for me to find other avenues that wouldn't go contrary to federal law. I mean, the chair could attest, committees, staff could attest that we looked for ways that we could add some further amends, but a lot of them just went against federal law.
Thank you. Senator Wahab? I'm sorry, Senator Wilk, I didn't see your hand. Are you raising your hand? Oh, yes, Mr. Liu.
Oh, I think I neglected to address that part of your earlier question. So the senator is right. I think what we're talking about are interpretations of the federal law. So the federal law 58, chapter 58, title 58. There's words there, and they say that you cannot act as an attorney or agent to assist in the preparation, prosecution, and presentation of an initial benefits claim. So in our view, this is actually very clear, and what unaccredited companies doing now fit into the box of preparing, and they are acting as an agent. In our view, this is the interpretation of federal law that we very much believe in, and I think is really, if you look at the intent of the statute, that is the proper interpretation. Our friends on the unaccredited side, I think, take a more narrow view of how that law is to be interpreted, particularly with respect to the word agent and also the word preparation. And so, in their view, I think I don't want to put words in their mouth, but an agent is only someone if there is an agent of record or someone who has like an agent agreement. And I think if we were to subscribe to that very narrow definition of agent, it would kind of swallow the intent of the whole statute, of that particular provision. And so, we're not quite ready to accept that particular interpretation. And also with the word preparation, do unaccredited folks help prepare the application? I think they would say they don't. They assist or some other, verb, but that they don't, that the veteran is the one who prepares it with their own hand, for example. But that is kind of a narrow interpretation. So it is a battle of interpretations in a sense.
All righty. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Let me turn to Senator Wahab, then Senator Wilk.
Thank you. So I just want to say, just having the conversation, hearing the questions, I think obviously this bill needs a little bit more work, which I trust that, you will talk to opposition and see if, as well as the Attorney General's office and basically all the stakeholders to find some type of agreement or some common ground moving forward. I think Senator Caballero's commentary regarding military service and so forth, I struggle a little bit on this just because I wish that there were more opportunities from the get-go for every average resident in the state of California, the United States, to better their lives and so forth. But many people sign up for the military, especially in Black and brown communities, because of the lack of opportunity in general. And how are they going to pay for school? How are they going to pay for their livelihoods and much more? And with that service, obviously, comes a great deal of potential trauma, whether that's injury, whether that's mental health, whether that's, service abroad, and some of the problems that obviously occur during war. And we have a responsibility to take care of our servicemen and women, and I will move the bill when appropriate.
Thank you, Senator Wahab. Senator Wilk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'm kind of echoing the same comments. No doubt you're passionate about this issue. These are your people. But one thing that really struck me, and I can't remember which one of the opponents, they talked about that 70% of their clients had already gone through the existing process and didn't receive satisfaction. And again, these people deserve the benefits that they deserve. And for me, if I had to pay somebody to get what I deserve because they couldn't get it somewhere else, I personally would want to do that. So I would encourage you, again, to work with the opposition and see if there's some path forward that benefits all.
Thank you, Senator Wilk. Senator Laird.
I would like to just very briefly pick up on Senator Caballero's comments, because I think that a lot of the testimony and the motivation for your bill is to protect veterans, make sure they get the services they deserve, and get them in a legal, appropriate manner. And yet, because of the structure of this bill, and it may be because of federal law, the structure of this bill, in order to make sure there's good actors and pushes away the bad actors, it also pushes away some good actors. And the real issue here is, can you find a way within the structure of the law and your bill to protect all the good actors and push away the bad actors? And I think that's the conundrum you're hung up on. And I just would say that sometimes it takes a little creativity to figure out how to do it, but I think that's where the solution of the bill is here. And it's like, I stretch for other members, and I will vote to move this along, but that's what I will look for over time, is whether or not you can bridge that to try to protect all the good actors in the struggle to make sure the bad actors are out of the picture.
Well, I mean, the chair and I became best friends on this topic to try to find creative ways to address that.
You weren't here earlier when he was telling everybody what his birthday is, so that's when we'll find out whether you're really his best friend.
You know, we huddled on this issue a long time, because we were trying to find that path. And you'll know that there's no committee amendments for this bill because it was difficult to work outside of the federal box. And I will continue to find a way that within that box there could be something I can change, because you're right. That is essentially what could happen, right? We're addressing the bad apples, and then the good apples go away. Because I was one of those people, the 70% that I used the free service, and then I turned to a paid service, because just like Senator Wilk, I myself wanted to pay for it, and I did get a good result. But just one veteran having fraud committed against them is one too many. Because while I didn't pay an exorbitant amount, we have other veterans that paid an exorbitant amount of money just to get their God-driven right of entitlement for disability, and it's not fair. So I will continue. I mean, I will turn to anybody under the sun to help me find a way that we can work within this box that doesn't go against federal government law, to make sure that we are addressing the bad apples and also a path for the good apples.
All right, thank you. Other questions, comments? Let me direct some questions to Mr. Meyer and Mr. Taylor. Just in terms of trying to assess our points of agreement, let me ask Mr. Meyer to start with. The system of disability assessment by the VA is, in my view, analogous to the workers' compensation system. In other words, when you get hurt on the job site or in the performance of your job, you're entitled to some sort of, if you're disabled, some sort of compensation. And the VA system is an adversarial, or at least a quasi-adversarial system. In other words, you apply and you may not get what you think you're entitled to, and then it becomes somewhat adversarial. Do you agree with that?
I do.
All right, let's ask Mr. Taylor if he agrees with that.
But can I expand on that a little bit? A veteran who goes in to file a claim automatically thinks they should be 100%. Not everybody is 100% disabled. And so this is where some of the appeals come from, when they get rated lower than what they think they should be. But yes, I do believe that it's new math, voodoo math, with how they figure out the rating system.
Okay, but there's never in the history of the VA system has a veteran said, "You've given me too much disability," correct?
Never.
Our veterans are not
money.
stupid.
I'd like to return some money. Has that ever happened in your experience?
No, sir.
And in fact, in your experience, sometimes the VA rates people lower than what the veteran thinks. You just gave an example of every veteran thinking they're 100% disabled, but some don't. Some think that maybe they got a rating at 10%, they should be at 30%. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right, let me ask Mr. Taylor, do you think it's either adversarial or quasi-adversarial process?
Absolutely. Any process that requires evidentiary evidence to prove service connection and to prove that you currently have that condition is inherently adversarial. If it was not an adversarial system, my services would not be needed.
All right, so in the system, you've got one side, the VA, that has experienced representatives, lawyers and others who have great experience in this area. Is that right? Mr. Taylor, you can answer that question.
I'm sorry.
Yes, on one side, on the VA side, you have lawyers and experienced representatives who are assessing and handling one side of the equation in trying to arrive at what's just. Is that your understanding too?
That is correct.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes, they have.
So we've got an adversarial system. We've got one side with experience, and we got the other side, the veteran, right? And do we agree that everyone who represents, we may not all agree, I think everyone who represents a veteran should have some basic level of accreditation. Mr. Meyer, do you agree with that?
Yes, because it creates accountability, and it also creates a system where if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you are penalized for it.
You lose your accreditation, much like if you're representing someone in workers' comp.
Lose your accreditation and a $15,000 fine.
Okay, got it. Mr. Taylor, do you believe that everybody who represents a veteran should be accredited?
I believe in the concept of accreditation if it's an equal playing field that allows all players to become accredited.
So it is at least my belief that if you're representing a veteran, you should be accredited, right? That's my belief. So, yeah. All right. Next question is, so in the workers' compensation system, you can hire anyone you want. You can pay them or you can get pro bono legal service, but you need someone who is and accredited, a member of the bar. In the VA system, right now, you may not pay someone to actually provide basically assistance in submitting your application. Isn't that right? Or let me ask Mr. Taylor, is that correct?
Yes.
Under the federal law.
Under federal law, you currently have free options through the Veteran Service Officers.
Right. And same thing with you, Mr. Meyer?
Yes, any service officer who is filing an initial claim, it's free to the veteran.
And in fact, it's required to be free.
Yes.
Right. So we've got this system that, in my view, is entirely inequitable, where you have a veteran, unlike someone who's injured in the work site, who may not pay someone to help them put their initial claim together. Is that the current system? I see heads shaking yes.
That is correct. Under the current
Fundamentally, in my view, inequitable. Fundamentally inequitable. And it made me ask Mr. Meyer, why is it that we don't think that veterans should be able to choose someone who's accredited to be paid for their service, their expertise, their experience?
We're basing it off of the fact that the VA says, or the federal regulations say that you can't charge. And that's why the VA, for some of these unaccredited companies, has ordered, has given cease and desist letters to these companies. If the federal law changes, we agree.
Right. Do you think the federal law is wrong? The federal law should be that if you're accredited, you should be able to represent a veteran in the initial application so that the veteran gets his or her fair share of what they deserve?
Can I take this off and speak just as Roger?
Go ahead.
I believe that there is room for that federal law to change, but until it changes, we're stuck working within the confines.
Well, let me ask Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, do you think it should be California's position that veterans should have the opportunity to be able to hire someone with expertise and experience in prosecuting their claim? Do you think that should be California's position?
Are you asking me to speak for the Attorney General? I can't answer that.
What's your point of view?
My point of view is that we have, in California, we're different from other states, and we have many high-quality options to veterans who are trained and exist under oversight and provide, and this is important, this is a policy of the federal government, they should not be paying for the filing of an initial benefit application. And so that's how I feel. I mean, I think there is...
Well, let me interrupt and speak on my own behalf. I get it. And I think that the VA says you shouldn't be able to pay because the VA is in a position where it is basically on the other side of the veteran. In other words, it is in their interest to keep that disability rating as low as is possible. And if a veteran can hire someone who's accredited to be able to get their just due, that California should take the position that the federal government is wrong and put the federal government to their proof to come in and say, you know what, we think veterans should be in a special category for whatever reason that they may not, unlike every other Californian, hire someone to be able to assist them to get the fullest, basically, disability. And I see Mr. Meyer has a question.
Well, not a question, sorry, Chairman, not a question, but the way it's being stated, it's as if the paid person is a higher caliber than my non-paid veteran service officers. And I'll put my veteran service officers up against any of the paid folks at these other companies because I see them daily working with the veterans and their families.
I agree 100%. We have some of the best veteran service officers anywhere in the country. We have excellent federal veteran service officers. My sister-in-law was one for many years. And we have some great veteran services officers, but we also have some that are not so great. We also have some that don't provide, as was illustrated by Senator Menjivar, that don't provide the kind of service that a veteran deserves. And so what we say is we're saying, no, you may not hire somebody. But anyway, I'm going to basically stop. I am going to support the bill, but I'm going to support the bill with the caveat that I do think we should take on the federal government. I do think we should create a system where veterans have the option of choosing someone who is accredited to be able to pay them to help in this adversarial process that we all agree is an adversarial process. And so rather than keeping veterans at a disadvantage, not allowing them to pay for the best expertise, that we should put the federal government to their proof. So I'm going to support the bill, and Senator Menjivar and I have talked about this till I think both of us are blue in the face, and I think that I'm not going to ask you to to opine as to whether you agree or not agree with me. But I think before this thing gets to the governor's desk, that we ought to make a point that California stands with veterans and would permit veterans actually to pay for expertise. So having said that, I'll shut up. All right. Senator Menjivar, would you like to, is there a motion? Senator Wahab's moved the bill. Senator Menjivar, would you like to close?
You know, colleagues, Mr. Chair, I completely commit to going back to the drawing board if there's a way for us to do that, 100%. You've heard my story, and you've heard that. I agree with a lot of the points that were said today. I want to make sure that we're protecting veterans' right to their benefits. I want to also make sure we're protecting veterans against fraud. I want to make sure that if there are that there is an ability for a veteran to choose, should they want to choose to pay or go through the free services. The free services, our CVSOs are amazing. And not everyone has the ability to pay out of pocket thousands of dollars. So I want to make sure we're protecting that option as well. There are many, many veterans, especially female veterans, that don't even seek their benefits because they're still struggling to even be claimed. They're still struggling to even find themselves being titled a veteran, right? And the VSOs play a big part in creating a safe space for them to come forward and ask for those benefits. So Senator Laird, to your point, Senator Caballero, and a lot of the members who brought up the point, I am committed to work alongside the oppositions, which is made up of veterans, and the support, which is also made up of veterans, to find a common ground that elevates and supports all veterans. So with that, respectfully asking for an aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Menjivar. Thank you for your passion. You're new to this institution, but you've already taken the lead on veterans issues. You're forming the Veterans Caucus. And I know you do that, and all the veterans that are here that have come to Sacramento to testify, you've come here because you feel an affinity, a bond with your comrades in arms. And you're doing this not for yourselves, you're doing this for others. And you inspire all of us. So thank you, Senator Menjivar. Thank you, Madam Secretary. There's been a motion. Please call the roll.
This is file item number 6, SB 1124. The motion is due pass the Senate Military and Veterans Affairs. Umberg?
Aye.
Umberg, aye. Wilk?
Aye.
Wilk, aye. Allen? Ashby? Aye. Ashby, aye. Caballero? Aye. Caballero, aye. Durazo? Aye. Durazo, aye. Laird? Laird, aye. Min? Aye. Min, aye. Nilo? Stern? Wahab? Wahab, aye. 8-0.
8-0, we'll put that on call. Thank you, Senator Skinner. You've been very patient. Excuse me, patient. I'm sure you're going to be passionate as well, but you've been very patient. Thank you.